Hey, it's Andrew from Auto Off Topic. I'm a sweaty, greasy mess because I swapped out the old Kill Your Backs for my new Koni heavy tracks on my second gen Montero. I did both the front and the rear, and I'll show you how I did that.
All right, here's the original, well, not the original, but this is the KYB gas adjust that came on the 99 Montero that I have. I'm going to show you how to replace it. I've already done this side with the Koni heavy track. Doing it on a roll-on lift with basically the vehicle on the ground, and you could jack it up, put it on jack stand so the axle could droop. That might make it a little bit easier, but it's pretty easy doing it this way too. I'm going to show you this side because it's easier to see without the muffler in the way, but this side's not really any harder with the muffler in the way. You just might have to go up through the wheel well to get the top nuts up there, but it's not a super big deal. I'm going to start up here with, there's the regular nut and the jam nut is on top of that, and there's also like a flat spot on the top of the shock shaft. There's a special socket that goes on there, or you can use a really small metric open-ended wrench to hold it. These should be 14, and I'll spray some rust penetrant on there and just clean the threads with a wire brush just so they come off easier. And then go to the bottom of the shock, there's one big bolt with a nut. We'll take that out afterwards. We're going to start on the top. Clean some dirt off with a wire brush after I sprayed it. Kind of hold the bottom one. And then I'm going to use a gear ratchet. Break that free. Put it off with my fingers. See, that's turning, so I gotta counter hold it. The sockets I have to fit those are too small, so I'm using an adjustable wrench. And it's basically just like two flat spots. It'd be like an oval. Just keeps the shock shaft from spinning while you're loosening the nut. So that's loose. Finish taking it off with my fingers. Get some dirt on it. Get this all the way off. Take the big washer off, the rubber bushing out. Rubber bushing sticks, that's fine, it's gonna come out anyways. There we go. Now I can move to the bottom bolt. I'll spray a little rust penetrant on this bolt here. It's not that rusty, it'll just help it come off. These are 24 millimeter. You can't get the closed end of the box wrench on there because the trailing arm's in the way, so I gotta use the open end to counter hold that nut. And then I'm using a 24 millimeter socket on a 1/2 inch ratchet. Break it free. Might need a bigger, longer ratchet. Use a longer ratchet. Leverage. There we go. I'll switch to a shorter ratchet so it's easier. I think it's loose enough. Take out my fingers. There's a lock washer. Don't lose that. I might have to push this out a little bit. Get the nut out between the trailing arm. And get that lock washer out of there. Put it aside. Pop this bolt out. Wiggle it out because the gas shock's going to want to push against it.
need to. You can use a little pry bar up on it. Go around, bolts come right out. Now the shock loose. Just gonna pop it out of here, come out. All right, so I popped it out and then it flung out because the gas shock is pushing against me. But if you can control it, it should come out pretty slowly and then you just pull it out like that, normally. All right, so here's the new Koni. Comes with new hardware. So there's a washer and a rubber part that's gonna go on like that. And it's gonna go up into the mount on the frame. And it's too long. No, you have to push it up and you're gonna have to fight it a bit. And it's gonna take some effort. So this is where it might be easier if you had the truck up in the air with the suspension drooped and the truck on drag stands, but you can do it this way. You just have to push it up. And it's gonna be slippery. When it gets in place, you kind of have to use a little punch, pry the lower part, and the pry bar in here. I have to push it out, pry it up a little bit, pry it up, and then use my pry bar in here. Remember, the bolt goes in from the inside out. There you go. The lock washer on here. I have to push the bolt back a little bit. You can turn it out with the ratchet. This way you get the nut on. The nut started. Ratchet, my wrench on there. Ratchet, and I'll just snug it down. Once it gets pretty tight, I'll just give it a little extra turn. It's got a lock washer on it. You just need to crush that lock washer. Just like that. All right, just make sure that seated itself. It should automatically seat. There's a little seat inside here for that rubber piece. There's a top one, so the rubber goes down, and then another metal washer. And there's two nuts, another jam nut and a lock nut. Tighten this one down. I actually have a socket that fits these shocks. Those are 17s. All right, just make sure that seated itself. It should automatically seat. There's a little seat inside here for that rubber piece. There's a top one, so the rubber goes down, and then another metal washer. And there's two nuts, another jam nut and a lock nut. Tighten this one down. I actually have a socket that fits these shocks. Those are 17s. You don't want to squish this rubber, kill it. There'll just be a little bit of thread showing. Get this caught enough so the ratchet works. Gonna go a little more. You'll know because you can thread on the jam nut
And there should be just a little bit of thread showing. Yeah, we'll go a tiny bit more with the other one and then put the jam nut on. You don't want these bushings like really squished out. That's probably it right there. Yeah, there you go. And we'll just tighten this up. Let's turn the whole shaft, so I need to counter hold. So I get like an oval socket for that. Find the spot for it. Using a breaker bar. And that should be it. And I'll just put the little dust cap on there to protect these. And that's how you do the Koni shock on a 2nd gen Montero. Alright, so I've got the old KYB gas adjust in there. I'm going to put the new Koni in there. This is brand new, so actually this goes this way before you install it, and then there's a pin holding it compressed, so when we get it in there, we're gonna line it up, pull the pin, and put the bolt through. That's gonna be pretty tricky, but that's how it goes. So we're gonna get this one out first. There's a lower bolt, a through bolt, and a lock and a jam nut on the top. Take those off, and we'll have to do some prying and compressing of this gas strut to get it out, because it's just going to want to expand. It makes it a little bit difficult to get it out, but it's not too bad. Start with these 2 top nuts. I'm going to spray some rust penetrant on there. Take a wire brush, just knock off any rust or dirt. Struck's in very good shape, so it's not bad at all. They're 14 millimeter. The shaft might spin, so I might have to put an adjustable wrench on there. I can counter hold this. It's 2 14s. Let's break it free. Oh, I got lucky that one came free without having to counter hold the shaft. If the shock shaft starts to spin, you'll have to put an adjustable wrench here and just hold these 2 flat spots so it doesn't spin on you. But I got lucky, it's gonna come free. I'll take this off. Switch to a gear wrench. Take this one off. Take the bottom one off. Spray some more rust penetrant. Now the shock is not holding up the weight of the vehicle. It's just on the of course it's on jack and jack stands. I already took the wheel off. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Clearly I took the wheel off, put it up on jack and jack stands. So now we're looking at the lower bolt down here. The bolt head is back there. And the nut is in the front here. Take some rust penetrant. Those are 17 millimeter. And I did the other side. I had to use a really long ratchet to get enough leverage to break it free. Put the nut and lock washer out there. Punch the bolt out, and the shock is going to expand, and it's going to be difficult to get out.
that doesn't work. Take the nut, take the bolt in the socket, you can turn it out. You might need a wobble socket on there. Shock hole is not threaded, but sometimes with age, they get kind of stuck in there. So I got a universal and my 17 millimeter. I'll get it on there. And I'm gonna try to turn it out. Need a longer ratchet though. It's been pretty stiff. So spray some more rust penetrant to help it. Oh yeah, it's seized into the shock body. Fun. So what I did is I put the nut back on there. I'm going to take this punch and a hammer, try to knock that bolt out. Put the nut on there so I don't mushroom the end of the bolt. Also use a softer brass punch. It is moving, so let me just keep hitting it. Take a smaller punch, go in here. Get it out. Hopefully yours doesn't get stuck like that. Just wiggle it out of here. Couple more punches. There it goes. Reach up and grab it. Get it out. I'll clean that up before I put back in the new one. Don't worry about the punch being stuck in there, because it's not that tight. I can pry it up. There we go. Okay. Now, the trick I found on the other side was to pry down on the shock, push it down, because it will compress. It's not going to shoot out. It'll give you a few seconds to pull it out of this lower mount, and then kind of pop it out this way. Try not to rip this boot. Yeah, we'll do our best to get it out of there. So I'm going to pry it down. Basically, a good spot in here, and pry it down. Take these off. And then grab it. Got it. Basically, you gotta pry it down enough so that you can kind of pop it up and out of the lower. It's real tricky. So like that. And then as it's released, you kind of pull it out, and it might get jammed up in there a little bit. You might have to compress it a little more again. Like that. Just kind of, it's not ideal, but it's kind of the only way to get it out. The other one like really popped out. I'm gonna spray some rust penetrant here. It slides past the boot. I'm gonna have to compress it some more. There it is. We'll get it out. There you go. All right, clean that bolt up real nice. It's time to install the shock. Make sure you've got your hardware. Washer goes like that. This goes here. Don't pull this pin yet. Make sure this dust cap's on here, or else you won't be able to get it back on. So this is gonna go like this. Slide it down through here. It's compressed. Put the other hardware on the top. Rubber bushing. Do the washer and one nut. Just because we're not tightening it down yet, I just want it to hang there and not go anywhere. So just tighten it down. I want to be able to get to the spring, well, this little clip here. So I'd like to have the label at the front, but I can't get to the clip. So what's going to happen is we're going to pull this out, and it's not going to shoot down, but it's going to go down pretty quickly. And I'm going to have this bolt ready in the lower mount, and I'm going to try to get it caught as fast as I can. It's going to be a bit of a trick, but I was able to do it on the other side, and then I did have to pry it a little bit to get it to line up, but I made it work. And unfortunately this has to be here because that's where the dust cover goes. So here's my pry bar. I'll just pop it out like that. It's going to go, and oh no, I dropped the bolt. Damn. Well, I didn't quite get it. I got the bolt out of the way, so this can go up now. Get out of the way. I knew that wasn't going to go as smooth, of course, as the other side I didn't do on camera. So get this up here. Clips into place. Get this up. Little trick. All right. Now. Oh boy, I got to get that in there. I've got this sort of prying punch with a narrow end. I'm trying to get it in here. My regular pry bar won't fit. Try to pry it up best I can, get the bolt in here. This is going to be a bit of a struggle. No. All right, here we go. So we had to get help. We had to pry this up, and now we've got a punch in there holding it. This bolt's going to go from the back side. So we put a pry bar under there now to hold it. I should be able to reach up in here and get the bolt through. The tricky part. We might need help. Almost there. You wiggle it around a little bit. You might need to move the pry bar because you're on the knuckle. No, you're on the knuckle in here. Go underneath here. And then you can wiggle it around a little bit for me. You're prying up here. I want you to go through here and pry up. And then you can wiggle it a little bit. And I'm almost there. Like, there. That's it. So I just had to get help because I didn't get it on the first try, but now it's in there. So that's it. I can put the lock washer and the nut on there now. All right, now that the bolt's through, I can put the lock washer back on and the nut back on and tighten it up. Tighten this up. Kind of hold the bolt on the other side. That tight. Tighten the top down. Again, these are 17s. Go too tight with it. That should be good there. Couple more turns actually. Lock the jam nut. Just like that. And that front shock is installed. Put your wheel back on. Don't forget truck or lug nuts, and take the truck off the jack and jack stands.